Great expectation came with the strokes of two pens. Two parties, the United States and the Taliban, sought to bring an end to the 20-year-long war in Afghanistan, which has raged since the Bush administration's post-9/11 invasion, killing thousands of American and coalition troops, along with tens of thousands of Afghans. The major peace deal, which was signed in Doha on February 29, 2020, had some important conditions. The Taliban could not let Al-Qaeda or other militant groups operate in areas of its control. They also had to proceed with national peace talks with the government in Kabul. In return, the US and its NATO allies would withdraw all troops within 14 months, and there were provisions for the eventual removal of US sanctions against the Taliban. But the agreement also promised to work on a prisoner exchange. The Afghan government would release 5,000 Taliban fighters. The Taliban would return 1,000 government soldiers. The Afghan government, though, was not a signatory to the deal and initially rejected the proposal.
هیچ نوع تعهد برای رهایی 50,000 بندی وجود نداره. ما بار این موضوع را به صورت شفاف با دکتر سب خلیلزاد و تمام مقامات دیگر شریک ساختیم. این حق قانونی و جزء خود ارادیت مردم افغانستان است.
No breakthrough was made, leaving the deal in a state of flux. And there was a surge in violence, the Taliban taking advantage of America's willingness to negotiate at any cost. News outlets reported 4,500 attacks in Afghanistan within 45 days of the signing, a 70% increase compared to the same period a year before. Taliban casualties fell, with US and Afghan forces decreasing their operations. This led the Pentagon to rebuke the insurgent group, saying the level of violence in Afghanistan was unacceptably high. By the end of 2020, under pressure from the Trump administration and threatened with escalating violence, President Ghani released the 5,000 Taliban prisoners that he'd previously denied freedom to, many of whom reportedly returned to the battlefield. And while this paved the way for intra-Afghan peace talks, little progress has been made. There's been no ceasefire, and Taliban attacks have continued. Today, the US has the smallest number of boots on the ground in the country since operations began in 2001. But with a change in US administrations, the future of the historic deal is now unclear. Joe Biden has previously spoken in favor of keeping a small number of soldiers in the country. His national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, confirmed they will review the peace deal. And the Pentagon has doubled down on its criticism of the increase in violence used by the Taliban.
Without them meeting their commitments to renounce terrorism and to stop the violent attacks on the Afghan National Security Forces and, by dint of that, the Afghan people, it's very hard to see a specific way forward for the negotiated settlement.
The Taliban, meanwhile, have urged the US to fulfill its obligations.
در مورد ارزیابی آنها با ما موافقت کردند. ما برای 4 سال این توافق نکردیم، بلکه با نظام آمریکا توافق کردیم، با دولت آمریکا توافق کردیم. اگر ارزیابی میکنه ارزیابی کنه، اما مسئول است، متحد هستند که با او متحد باشند. اگر در مدت 14 ماه از برآمدن از افغانستان ما هم متحد هستیم، اگر نبرآمدن ما هم باز ارزیابی میکنیم.
With the troop withdrawal deadline looming and the Taliban carrying out violent attacks across Afghanistan, a peaceful conclusion to the decades-long war may still be some time away.